Welcome back to Bioshock 2. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I covered getting all of the delicious achievements in the base game. However, it is time to tackle the two DLCs now, the Protector Trials and the heavily renowned Minerva's Den. Now, even though I consider myself quite a big fan of the Bioshock games, I've never actually played the DLC for 2 before, so I was very much looking forward to seeing what this had in store for me. But of course, folks, as well, if you haven't yet, please go make sure that you watch my previous Bioshock vids so that you can get all of the juicy context that I might not be able to talk about in this video. And whilst you're at it, if you're new here or find yourself coming back regularly, please consider subscribing. You're already coming back anyway, so why not? But it's time to finish the DLC and to get Bioshock 2 ticked off the list. So without further ado, welcome to the achievement grind. So the first DLC that I decided to cover was the Protector Trials, as it's not story based and it's actually quite a nice decent change of pace from the main game and what we'll get in Minerva's Den. Now the Protector Trials are surprisingly a series of trials where you are tasked with protecting a little sister while she collects Adam, with every level having some form of challenge or component to it, whether it be only using trap plasmids and bullets, or a drill only as a couple of examples. But depending on how much Adam the little Hoover slurps up, you gain up to 3 stars depending on the level, and for all of the achievements we need every single star, so confident that my Bioshock skills could be tested here rather nicely and that collecting stars wouldn't be a problem in the slightest, we booted up the first stage. Now the first trial is fairly generous with what it gives you. It gives you the rivet gun, the shotgun and a machine gun, with some strong damaging plasmids and even some tonics that increase damage resistance as well. But it's not about us, it's about how well we can protect the little one. Once we place it down, we then have to deal with waves and waves of different enemies. For the first stages, these were more or less just different types of splices which are fairly easy to take out, especially with a shocking shotgun combo. Now as you can see, the little sister is gathering Adam, and the longer she goes uninterrupted by the bastard splices, the bigger the time bonus. For 3 stars, she pretty much has to go through the full trial without being interrupted by anyone. So we shoot enemies in the head at a wonderful pace, and soon the little sister is ready to be picked up and the level is complete. Upon completing the level, we also unlock our first achievement, Perfect Protector, for gaining the maximum amount of Adam from a single trial. So on to the next. Now it is the same map, however our equipment is slightly different. This time we only have our drill and a rivet gun, but confident we load it in again and set her to work. Now only the rivet gun and the drill might sound a bit intimidating, but being able to line every walkway with a bunch of traps actually made this much easier for me than the first, and splicers were getting sent to the afterlight at a miraculous pace, and soon after again the little sister was done, and so were we. Now, I'm not going to go through every single level and every single encounter that I came across because quite frankly, you don't need to hear the same things over and over again. So I'm going to kind of quickly go through the gist of them all and more importantly, what wonderful achievements that we're going to unlock for doing them. And the next achievement came quite soon after. Now, each stage has 3 challenges and then a bonus challenge for when you complete all of the previous ones to a high enough standard. So when we picked up the little sister for the 3rd time after ripping fools apart, we unlocked the achievement Litmus Test for gaining 6 stars across all of the trials. A decent start, but we have a little way to go yet. The next group of levels have us in a train depot. Not necessarily more difficult, but there are a few new enemies to look out for and a couple more places that they can pop out of. So it makes sure that you are paying attention to the juice thief, but as I said, nothing that we couldn't easily deal with. So we got to work. With deployable turrets and a machine gun strapped to our hand, we mowed down waves and waves of nasty gits that tried to take the precious, including the occasional Big Daddy and Brute. But again, nothing we couldn't handle. We went through all of these levels fairly quickly and without any real issues, as they were really easy to kill, which means they were all dead long before they got close to interrupting the little sister. About 20 minutes had passed and we managed to get every star on these 3 levels as well. Job's a good one, so let's move on to the next. The next location is the Paupers Market again, and these without questions were my favourite levels in this part of the DLC. Not only do we get the spear gun, which is pretty much an insta-kill for every enemy and my favourite weapon in the game, but we also got the deployable turrets again, so these levels were fun and oh so easy to get on top of. Level by level we pasted the opponents into disgusting piles of guts and bones, and without really even realising we had completed all 3 levels of these as well, unlocking our next achievement, Acid Test. Now admittedly the next stage was the trickiest yet. There were several places for the enemies to attack from and there was a range of them to deal with, so it wasn't as easy as dealing with them one at a time anymore, as I would be fighting brutes while splicers go for the little sisters and Houdini bastards threw fire at me. It got quite mad to be honest, but more importantly it was still just some chill fun, and still nothing that we couldn't handle, so slowly but surely we let the little sister drink and then threw her on our back. After the first level we unlocked our next achievement as well for getting over 50% of all of the Adam available in the DLC, unlocking Get a Bigger Bucket. Now honestly folks, from this point on there isn't anything new that I can really explain or show you that I haven't already shown, so let's just blitz through the rest and get onto the far more interesting part of the DLC with Minerva's Den. We carried on getting max Adam from every level that we touched. I think throughout all of the challenges I only had to maybe restart a level once or twice, so they really weren't that hard to go through at all. And about 20 minutes later we had completed stage 4 and moved on to 5, which was also more or less just as easy, so we finished that one in about half an hour as well, since each level roughly takes about 5 to 10 minutes. So with them all completed, we were on the final stage, which takes place in the prison from the end of the first campaign. And folks, I'm afraid I have nothing really to tell you here as well, because it is the exact same as what we've just gone through, and just as easy. So 20 minutes later at the end of this one, thankfully there are some achievements that will come with it. The first is Trial by Fire for earning all 36 stars that are available in the DLC section. And the next we unlocked was Enemy of the Family for achieving at least an A star in all of the Protector trials as well. Now, with all of those ticked off and mastered, we only had one more achievement here to go. Now, in every single stage, as I said, there is a bonus mission that you have to unlock. Originally, I didn't think we had to touch these, but it turns out there's an achievement for going through every single bonus level as well. So we only have 6 more missions and we're home free for this DLC. Now, for some reason, the bonus level variant across the board is that everything is unlocked. All of your weapons, your tonics, your plasmids, so the bonus levels were in fact the easiest levels in the game. Which really shocked me, as I was kind of expecting a real challenge with them, a wacky premise or a negative affliction, but nothing. They were really easy. So we got through every single level with absolute ease, and when I was done with the final one, we had finished the DLC and unlocked the final achievement for the Protector Trials, Guardian Angel. Now, honestly, this pack I feel like is just meant to be a little bit of a palate cleanser in between the two campaigns, and honestly, it was absolutely fine. As I said, I would have preferred the bonus levels to be a true test of skill, but I can't be mad at it. So yeah, it was fine, and with that we only have to go through Minerva's Den now, and then that's 2 of the 3 Bioshocks ticked off and completed. So let's get into the second part of this DLC. It starts with a Big Daddy walking into Minerva's Den. We're playing as a new Big Daddy type called the Project Sigma. However, someone doesn't want us going into Minerva's, so they blow up the path, and sometime later we wake up in the water buried under rubble. We peel the starfish off our face, lift up the debris from up on top of us, and carry on our journey to the den as if nothing had happened. On the path though, somebody gets in touch with us, a CM Porter. Apparently we're here to get something called the Thinker out of Rapture. Not sure what that is ourselves, but the Big Daddy has a big job to do, so we walk into the den. Now, Minerva's Den has been completely cut off from the rest of Rapture for quite some time, but it has still unfortunately been affected by splicing. So the usual baddies were all here. We also find an audio book of Andrew Ryan congratulating Porter on the building of Rapture's central computing, so we now know that Porter is one of the geniuses that do belong here. We walk into the entrance to Minerva's Den and another fellow gets in touch with us, Reed Wall. He says that the Thinker has chosen him and that we're wasting our time here. Again, not a sausage what he's on about, but we must carry on. Porter then gets back in touch saying he pushed Wall out years ago, and just at the same time we find Minerva's Den's new toy, an ion laser, and it shreds people up rather nicely if you don't mind me saying. So we carry on walking whilst all of the characters talk about the Thinker, and then Porter tells us to go to his office to see something that apparently we will want to get our goggles on. Now on the way we find our first collectible. Now unlike a lot of games I've been playing recently, thankfully there are a lot of collectibles here, but around the den there are these vacuum bots. They hide some nice presents inside that they've hoovered up, however we're more focused on the achievement that they bring, as when we blow up all 10 an achievement will be rewarded. So for now we just carried on through to Porter's office. Once inside, Porter talks to us again. He says that all that matters is the Thinker, but we need to apparently get to the Thinker's core and to make a copy of his machine code, so we pick up a hidden keycard that will help us get to where we need to go. Once we pick it up, Reed Wall then gets back in touch. He basically says, "I'm gonna kill you." Now here we're clued in on what the Thinker actually is. It's basically a gigantic computer AI system that is capable of pretty much anything, from Rapture's defenses to electricity, oxygen, to even being able to predict the outcome of sports games. It's pretty much an incredible machine capable of a great deal depending on who owns it. And then Porter also tells us that Reed has become incredibly paranoid ever since he started splicing, and now he wants the Thinker for himself to basically make him the richest man in the world. So we can't be having that. In his office, I'm afraid we also do find something rather shocking.
To keep the Thinker here.
Not Babbage! No, I fucking didn't. Alright. I missed? Did I miss?
You're a monster!
Oh, rest in peace, Babbage. You were gone too soon. Oh well, you can blame Luna for that one. Now, when we leave the office to go further into finding the Thinker, we are also greeted with a brand new type of Big Daddy, and more importantly, our first achievement of the DLC. Now, it is business as usual in Minerva's Den, with you having to rescue little sisters and steal them for yourself. But this Big Daddy basically has a flashbang ability, and bloody hell does it work, because often I can't see hee-haw. However, thanks to our new weapon and our insatiable bloodlust, we kill the new Big Lancer Daddy and unlock the achievement, Lancer Killer. Now, I'm not going to go through the sequences with the little sisters again because I'm sure you are all well aware on how this goes by now, so let's cut a little bit forward. Reed then eventually gets back in touch and says that he knows how this entire fight is going to go, since apparently the Thinker has already predicted the outcome, and it isn't looking good for us. We, however, are not a slave, so we choose to ignore him and just press on. Now, honestly folks, whilst making it through the den, there isn't actually that much that I'm able to comment on, as it's more of just the normal Bioshock experience. We hack and loot things, we put splices into the afterlife, and we take in the disgusting yet beautiful sights. It's genuinely the same as what came before, but that's kind of fine. However, we do eventually also find a new type of plasmid, and I am so upset that we didn't get this in the normal Bioshock game, as this plasmid is hilariously fun. It's called the Gravity Well, and it basically catches and spins everything in its vicinity like a little black hole. It is a lot of fun, but we actually need this plasmid to be able to make it throughout the level, as we need to destroy some batteries out of reach to allow us to go through some doors and into the lift into the next section. Here, when we do that as well, we also unlock our next achievement, Login, for making it into the next section, as now we have made it into operations. We're here to get the Thinker's blueprints and code and to get them out of Rapture. Throughout the entire DLC, Reed keeps getting in touch with us as well, with either incoherent ramblings on how we're ruining everything, or just to simply say that we're a prick and that he's going to kill us. And I mean, he does try to kill us, as he then puts the station onto lockdown and makes the Thinker send an army of turrets at us. We of course are built different, so we take them out with absolutely no problems, before Porter then tells us of the bathysphere that we can use to take out of Rapture when we're done. Now, whilst cracking on throughout the level, we also find a minigame called Spitfire, and surprise surprise, there's an achievement tied to this. This game has you fly around the screen shooting enemies and like rocks or something, which was obviously being inspired from Atari's Asteroids. I mean, it's a classic. But we have to get the max score of 9,999. Only problem is that the controls are absolutely awful, and the sound effects for this section are genuinely difficult to listen to, but we must proceed. Now, it does take us a couple of minutes to get used to the controls, but once we do, we crack on and soon get that glorious high score and unlock the next achievement called, well, high score. Now, honestly folks, I was really enjoying this DLC, but it was already coming to a close, with it only being an hour or two long. After making our way into the next section of the level, Reed once again just keeps sending forces to attack us with. We of course take them out and soon make it to Reed's office to try and find a way to make it to the Thinker's core. And we do find the tool necessary for the job. As once Porter hacks something called a portable beacon, we can then use that to close off signals to allow us to get further into the den and hopefully get closer to the Thinker's core. And it works perfectly, and we're making it further and further in. And finally, we might be able to stop Reed and get those blueprints that we need. However, we find and go to enter the core, Reed then cranks the Thinker's cooling system and freezes the way forward. So now we need to head through to climate control to reset this mess and to get through, as even Incinerate doesn't do the job here. We soon make it to climate control and it is freezing with everything frozen through. But before we can stop that, we actually have two achievements to cross off the list first, as by finding and blowing up the final of Rapture's Hoovers, we unlock the next achievement, Garbage Collection. Soon followed by frying the final Big Daddy, stealing his little sister and throwing her down the tube. For that, we have saved every little sister in Minerva's Den and unlock Adam Addict. Now, with all of the side missions done and over with, it's just time for us to finish the DLC, so we need to reset the environment. Doing this is surprisingly simple as well, as with a simple handle pull on an override machine, the job is done, and now the chamber leading to Reed and the Thinker's core is open and ready for us to use. Once inside, Reed ridicules us for thinking that we can outthink the Thinker. God, that's a mouthful. But by making it into the next section, we also unlock our next achievement, Root Access Granted. Now, when we get in there, Reed has clearly lost his mind and his paranoia is really getting to him. We also find out that Porter has been doing something rather odd himself, but kind of cute in the same breath. Now, when Reed was using the Thinker to win bets on games and such like that, Porter was uploading audio splices of his dead wife's voice into the Thinker to get it to be more human. Quite odd, I suppose, but every advanced AI system should have a voice, I guess. I mean, ask Jarvis. But moments later we are inside. First we find a room filled with maths equations and gobbledygook that quite frankly my small brain can't comprehend. But we follow the path to a door, and when it opens we find the thinker's core. However, when we start the process to identify ourselves to the computer so that we can copy the process, Reed then shuts the thinker down. And he appears in person this time to say that enough is enough. But with the thinker down, Minerva's Den is immediately falling to pieces as every component is failing. From electricity systems to O2, from life support, every single system was failing. So we need to kill Reed quickly to get them back online. Now Reed unfortunately wasn't the hardest boss that we've ever faced, as we take care of the big daddies that Reed brings in as backup. But enough of the starters, it's time for the main course. Reed then appears and we use all of the weapons at our disposal to put this crazy spliced idiot into the floor. When he falls over as dead as a can of spam, we also unlock the next achievement, Pseudo. Now with him dead, we take the punch card from his body and immediately activate the thinker again, restoring Minerva's Den. It activates and then the thinker then scans our identity. It turns out that we are CM Porter. Tenenbaum was talking to us as Porter so that we could be trusted on what he had to say. But it's time to grab the information and head to the surface. We then head into our office to collect the things. Here we also find out that Porter was indeed feeding audio of his wife to the thinker. He wanted to duplicate his wife into this machine to basically revive her in essence, as she unfortunately died in a blitz over London. However, once he hears his wife's voice again, he freaks out and just completely stops the process. However, the thinker never gave up on this, and the game ends with us joining Tenenbaum in leaving Rapture with the thinker's code, ready to change the world. We also unlock the final achievement here, completing Bioshock 2, Log Out. Porter then talks to Pearl, his dead wife, in the ending, saying that he made it but he does miss her. However, from all of this, he has now decided to finally let her go and to rest in peace. Aw, how sad. Anyway, with that folks, Bioshock 2 is done. 2 down, only 1 more to go. And don't worry, of course we will be getting to Infinite as well. Now back to this, I always for years thought that I enjoyed Bioshock 2 more than the first. And whilst this is still an absolutely phenomenal game, I can't say that's the case anymore. I love the differences in the story where the first is revolved around the head and the second is around the heart. It's actually quite poetic. However, besides the obviously fantastic mechanical and quality of life changes, with dual wielding and better hacking mechanics and whatnot, I did still prefer my experience with the first game. And I also want to say that Minerva's Den was absolutely phenomenal. Like, I'd never played this before and I had only ever really heard great things about it, so I went in with quite ambitious expectations, and honestly, they were met. It was an absolutely lovely story about grief wrapped up in the typical Bioshock gameplay that we know and love. I thought it was wonderful. However, folks, it's time to get to the stats. For Bioshock 2, it took us 22 hours to grind all 53 achievements that this game has to offer. I'm going to be giving this game a very, very well respected 9 out of 10, as I thought the gameplay was wonderful. However, the story in the first is better, and I didn't really rate Lam as a good villain. She is pretty forgettable for me, unfortunately, and she's nowhere near on the same level as Andrew Ryan and Atlas, but it is still absolutely an incredible game. For difficulty, I'm going to be giving this game a 5 out of 10. Only 1 additional point over its previous entry, but since there isn't a new game plus mode here, the hardest run is a lot harder. But on the same note, you can die during it, so make of that what you will. And because of that, for me, the hardest achievement in the game will of course be Against All Odds for completing the game on the hardest difficulty. Certainly doable, however you will need some patience for this as you can die rather easily. And folks, there we go, that is Bioshock 2 finished. Apologies how long it took for me to actually put the second part out to this, but with that we only have 1 more trip to finish the entire series now. And even though I didn't really rate it when I first played it, I'm actually rather looking forward to Infinite now, even though I still remember not rating it quite highly, so we'll just have to see how that goes. Of course as well folks, thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to swing by my Twitch as well, where we go for these grinds live, and it would be lovely to have you. Also, whilst you're at it, why not like and subscribe here as well, as on Sunday we are covering the most requested game on the channel yet, Prey. So trust me, you do not want to miss that. And also a massive thank you to my incredible patrons as well. Your support is insane and I cannot thank you enough for it. And also folks, if you are interested in looking at what my Patreon has to offer, feel free to check it out. The links are in the description down below. But folks, I have talked for far too long today, so once again thank you all so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you all on Sunday. Take care everybody, bye bye for now.